Welcome back to Tom's World Scale Model Series. Coming up, we unbox Academy's 1/35th scale Jagdpanzer 38T Hetzer. If you enjoyed programming on scale modeling, then show your support by subscribing to this channel. Leave us a comment, like, dislike, or share the video with friends. Clicking the notification bell gives you alerts when we post new content, or visit the channel Tom's World for a friendly visit for a complete list of all our videos. As the tide of World War II turned, the retreating Germans faced overwhelming waves of Allied tanks. In a desperate bid to stem the crushing tide of enemy armor, German leadership scrambled to put anti-tank defenses in the field. Although many improvised vehicles were rushed into service, it wasn't until late 1943 that dedicated designs emerged. One such vehicle was the Jagdpanzer 38T. Small and hard-hitting, it was just what the beleaguered Germans needed. Popular with enthusiasts and not so much with their crews, the little JP-38T Hetzer established itself as the iconic tank hunter of World War II. Stick with us as we explore Academy Model's presentation of this most fascinating vehicle. So welcome back and thank you so much for joining me again. Well, today we've got Academy's 1/35th scale Jagdpanzer 38T, commonly referred to as the Hetzer. This is going to be kit 13230, released originally in 2012, and it is marked an initial release new tool. So this is the first kick at the can that Academy has done for this particular vehicle. Goes for about $37 Canadian, $25 US today. So a lower price kit, excellent value as we're going to see in a moment. Just a quick measurement of the box to give you an idea of the size. It's going to be 13.5 by 34 centimeters long. We've got, let's see here, about 8.5 inches, 22 centimeters wide. And tall-wise, not so tall, about 2.5 by 6 centimeters. So not a huge box. And we're going to see there's lots of empty space in the box. And it's this size basically because there's a rather large sprue in it. So, well, let's see here. A quick walk around the box to start with. On this side, we've just got, well, your basic packaging, so we know what it is when it sits on a shelf. And on this side, nothing too exciting. We've got kind of a color translation chart. We'll look at that a little bit more in detail because it is repeated in the instructions. Just some various and sundry instructions there. And on this side of the box, we've got some product shots. Nothing to write home about, but gives us a really good sense of what the built-up model looks like. And really that camouflage scheme is one of the things that really caught my eye that I really want to duplicate. And we'll talk about that more as we get into the kit. And there's a little PE sheet kind of buried at the side of the box. And that yellow blob, that's going to be the paint mask for the ambush scheme. And our little guys there, not the greatest paint job, but they look okay. Now, there is a little bit of method to this madness, the reason I decided to build this kit. If you're following along with the series, you know that we're working on the Tamiya 38T currently. And well, because the vehicles are so similar, I thought that it'd be kind of nice to follow it up with the Hetzer. Now, another issue is that Tamiya and Academy kind of occupy the same product positioning. That is, both produce lower to mid-price kits, although Tamiya has been releasing some fairly high-end, fairly expensive kits with, PE parts, metal barrels, and the like. But in general, they're very comparable, Academy and Tamiya. And both brands, usually they're simple kits, relatively low part counts, easy to assemble, excellent engineering, and good instructions. Now, we're not going to do a direct comparison, but I will be, from time to time, talking about the Tamiya kit, so I kind of wanted to introduce that just to explain that as we go. And just a quick comparison to the box. I don't know how useful that is, but you can see that they're very close in terms of size. So, all right, so there it is. And I just have to say the box is extremely shiny, so I do apologize. You can probably see the reflection of the camera, but that's as good as I can get it, so I do apologize. So just disregard that. All right, well, there it is. So before we crack the box, we always like to look at the product line. And again, because the Academy kit's only got the 3 releases, that's not going to totally work for us. So what we'll do is we'll look at some of the other brands and do a really quick overview of all the options that are available to us. Academy has released 3 variations of the Hetzer. Our late version was released in 2012, with the other 2 kits following in 2013. All 3 share the majority of their sprues, with only a few parts differing. The early variant has different muffler, idler, mantlet, rear plate, photo etch parts, and decals. The limited edition depicts the vehicle captured by freedom fighters in the Prague Uprising of 1945, and it's largely a late version with minor differences. Many manufacturers produce a 1/35th scale Hetzer. Trumpeter, Airfix, Dragon, Tamiya, Artillery all make Hetzer kits, and that's not even all the manufacturers, so we have quite a selection to choose from. Along with the Academy line in the mid-price range, we find Airfix, Artillery, and Tamiya. The Airfix releases are reboxings of the Academy kits with new decals and other Airfix branding accoutrements. From what I can tell, the Airfix late version does not contain the ambush pattern die-cut stencils. The Artillery kit is a solid release and is an adequate alternative if the Academy kits are unavailable, but no ambush pattern masks in this kit either. Two of the Tamiya kits are older releases. The 90s product was a collaboration with Artillery. Tamiya then retooled the kit as an initial release in 2007. By all accounts, the new kit was received favorably by armour modelers. In the luxury line, we find Trumpeter, Dragon, and Tamiya. The Trumpeter releases an advanced builder's kit with multi-part individual track links, more PE, and lots of parts. Retails for about $56 Canadian. The Dragon kits are actually variants and not true Hetzers. These are premium kits with loads of parts, copious PE, lots of clear parts, and interestingly Lincoln length tracks. These are premium kits and come at a premium price, ranging from $55 to $65 US. The ultimate Jagdpanzer 38T goes to Tamiya's Ultra Deluxe Maitre production kit number 25156. This comes with Aber photo etch and a metal barrel. I found this kit on Amazon, and hold your hats, it retails for $210 Canadian or $150 US. But look at the photo etch, absolutely spectacular. If you're a master builder looking for the ultimate Hetzer, and if you're ready to save up your money, then this epic kit is for you. But for ease of build and value for money, it's hands down Academy, so it's our choice for our Hetzer build project. Alright, so let's dive in, the unboxing, the good part. I love this part, you guys know that by now, so just pop this open. Oh, look at that. So many models, so little time. And the package was shrink wrapped, so we know everything should be intact. And the box had a little bit of battle damage, but everything's good. And it's not going to look exactly the same way because I've been rummaging through here, as you guys always know. And it starts off with a little, a little warning here to make sure that you check all the parts are there before you open the bags because they won't take it back. And it's in Korean, looks like, because of course Academy is a Korean brand. So, okay, here it is. So the sprues, we've got 9 sprues in total. 222 parts, give or take. And we're not going to use all the parts, but give or take. Just to kind of contrast with the Tamiya kit, that one had 9 sprues and 245 parts. So the two kits are really comparable, very comparable with respect to the sprues and the part count. Just got to put that box there. We'll just lay everything out. We'll take a closer look at everything, but well, we'll lay it out here. There's our little mask. You got a little bit of paperwork. And the kind of the Goldilocks thing, just like Tamiya, not too many parts, not too few parts, just right to give you a nice build and build up a beautiful little model. So there it is, kind of in a general overview, and not a bad value for the 37 Canadian we spent, where the Tamiya kit cost us 45. So far, well, maybe price-wise edge goes to Academy, but we'll see how it plays out. Let me get the sprues out of the bags and we'll have a closer look at the paperwork. So we get a little bit of paperwork, a little sort of precautionary note thing in yellow, warning. And, you know, if you're a first-time modeler, definitely read through this stuff because just some safety tips and things. We don't want to be blasé about that. Multiple languages, which is nice. And just a little sheet, kind of like Tamiya, just the basics of modeling. So if you're new, have a little read here. Some of their tools, and I must say I haven't tried Academy tools. If you guys have any feedback, drop it in the comments, but I suspect it's probably pretty good. In general, I've been very pleased with the Academy brand. Here we've got our black and white color guide, which sounds kind of odd, but it is in fact a color guide, and I can't wait to try this ambush scheme. This is very cool. We've got no unit information, so you know we won't go into that too much, and there's absolutely nothing in the markings that would suggest what unit it belongs to. But if we did our research on Hetzer, we can kind of get a sense. I think this was probably serving in Europe late in the war. And it's got that sort of that speckled late war ambush scheme, and that's meant to sort of, you know, the dappled light look when it's in among leaves and things. It's fantastic. And Sprue map, which is always very handy, and we can see here that there are some unused parts, not many, and a little photo etches there. I like Sprue maps, and the Tamiya instructions don't have them, so Tamiya, please start putting in Sprue maps. Alright, so there's that. And then finally, I just want to cast that aside. Let's put that aside carefully. And our little booklet, it's not a booklet, it's kind of a pullout, and the instructions are big. And I think that's why the box is so big, just to accommodate the instructions. But we'll cut in a little bit closer here and let's blast through the instructions here. So our instructions start with our obligatory box art. We've got a big color translation chart here and a number of different manufacturers and different mediums. We're going to use paint that's a little bit off the beaten path, and we'll look at that in our build video. With safety stuff at the bottom here. And we're going to fly through this pretty quick today. So bathtub style hull, but we've got our bogie assembly here. One little return roller, just one. And everything looks like it's keyed. So generally Academy's got really good engineering. We'll see that in the build. The buildup of the axles and everything, very reminiscent of the Tamiya kit. We've got the leaf springs going in, the axles going in again. Everything looks like it's keyed. Final drive, this is a little bit of a concern. I'm going to see if that idler is keyed. If not, if it kind of flops around, we'll have to keep an eye on that for our track. And these instructions open accordion style, so I have to be careful how I open this so we stay in sequence. And it gives us a number of different wheels. Looks like the early version, it's got well, I think it's 8 lightning holes. And then as the production line progressed, they simplified everything, so we went down to 4. We'll mix and match those, just to create a little bit of interest. There's our drive sprocket and no polycaps, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And thank goodness, only 8 wheels, very nice. Everything going in, a couple of odd little fender pieces there, and there's our wire cutters. And when we're looking at the Tamiya 38T instructions, I was saying, where did I see length and length? Who else uses it? And there it is. So Academy's using it. And interestingly too, those 3 Dragon variants of the Hetzer also went to length and length as well. So Dragons sort of had a few different track presentations from, let's see here, they had the Magic tracks and then DS tracks. I've had good experiences with all of them, and they're also heading towards length and length. So I really wonder whether that's going to be the industry standard moving forward. And there's our rear plate with our little starter assembly. I think the little hole's covered on this one. Not sure what this is. That little symbology there isn't referred to in the instructions. I'm assuming it's just to make sure that these parts are flush or tight. So we'll have to see that. And there's the muffler, and yeah, it's got the late version. It's got that sort of larger shroud on the back. The early version's got the thin muffler as well as a perforated sort of guard. So this is definitely the late version here. There's our PE. We got a little bit of bending to do there. Not a big deal. Oh, and we can go open or closed on the hatches. They might be a little thick, but that's a kind of a nice little touch. There's our night lights, our No-Tech night lamp, our towing block. We're not going to play guess the parts, but okay, so where are we going here? Okay, so we got step 7 here. Well, solid styrene periscopes, the scissor ones and this one here. And I do prefer the clear ones. So yeah, Dragon usually gives us clear, but not in this kit, not in the Tamiya kit either. We get some of that string. I've never liked when manufacturers put that string in. You have to kind of seal it for that towing cable. Braided copper is definitely the way to go. But we assemble that real easy, kind of roll it up and slap it on. We've got a couple of those fender stiffeners, a lot like the Tamiya kit. There's the jack, again, just like Tamiya builds it up, almost identical. There's our shirtson going in, our side skirts. With a little bit of assembly there, so we'll have to see what those brackets are like. We're going to leave this off so we can paint and weather everything. And interestingly enough, we got styrene straps across that jack. If you remember that FT17, it had those little PE straps for tools, and those are really tough to work with. Well, impossible, I found it. Was one flung off into the carpet in my clumsy hand. So I'll take styrene any day, so we'll have to see what those are like. And shirtson on the other side. There's our Grosser bin. We have a bit of a surprise when we look at the sprues. There's our gun. We got a couple of choices. The kit actually has 3 barrels, but we got a choice of 2, and definitely want to paint some kill marks to be cool, so we'll do that. There's no interior detail on the gun, unfortunately. The Tamiya kit did give us a little bit of a muzzle brake, not a muzzle brake, but a breech block and other simple forms. So, and unfortunately, this kit's got none of that. So, but you won't see it anyway, really. And there's just the gun being made it to the hull. And that sow's head sort of mantlet. So, and interestingly enough, it gives us an MG34, which is the older version. I would have thought that being a late Hetzer, it would have the later machine gun, the MG42. But 34 is nice, and we got a bit of a surprise on that one when we look at the sprue. And just some handles going down, and there she is, all built up nice and cute. Right, and just based on these pictures of figures, it's not encouraging, not the best paint job, and photographs, they're very shiny. But we do get color translations or callouts, so that's great. All right. And finally, well, we're going to try and solve the greatest mystery of the universe, and it's not the origin of life, it's how to do this paint scheme with Academy's masks. Now, I've seen a few different articles and blog posts and videos, and people avoid this die cut stencil like the plague. I saw one guy do it, and it looked great, so we're definitely going to tackle that. So to start off with our various and sundries, we get this really nice PE grill cover sheet. It's not brass, looks like it's mild steel or tin or aluminum, who knows. Looks great though, but it does have a good side, so we have to make sure that we install it properly. So we get a tiny little decal sheet, just some Balkenkreuzes, and you know that whenever I look at decals, I always gripe about them being way too stark. And if you look at these, that white is not burn your retina white. It's kind of muted. So I do tip my hat to Academy because those look really good. And I've never had problems with Academy decals. So we get this little hunk of string. It looks like it's in scale, but the problem is that it's porous, so it's hard to paint. And definitely the braided or the twisted copper cabling is much nicer to use on models, but we'll try to use this. We'll have to seal it before we paint it. And finally, what looks like a solid yellow piece of paper is actually the paint mask, and there's no way really to illustrate it without pulling them off, so you'll have to take my word for it, but we're going to definitely see this in action in the build video. So our sprues in no particular order, we get this one. This is A for Alpha. That's going to be our bathtub style hull and our superstructure. And the detail is good. We kind of got that curved cut steel look there. Gives you some idea how thick that plate is. And that angle is 60 degrees. So you get a lot of protection there. Very interesting. And then of course the kind of the patented German interlocking armor plates there. Again, gives you a sense of how thick the armor is. But you know, the detail's good. Got some nice bolt detail, that'll take a wash. And the hinges are good. They're a little softer maybe than Tamiya, but of course this is an older kit. That Tamiya kit is 2019, this goes back to 2012. A bathtub style hull. Interesting enough, it's got chamfered edges. I'm not sure what that's about if you look up here, but we'll see how that builds up. But it's pretty good, it's thick, not a lot of flex. And again, that sort of German interlocking plate and that kind of curved cut steel look there. So it's not bad, and the bottom's done. So one of those, that's A for Alpha. And what I was going to say was that I think I had a Dragon Brumbar kit that has similar assembly here. The gun was actually connected to that periscope, so when you move the gun around, this would slide around. Now I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to do that in this kit. They have the hole here. But, well, we'll see if those are connected together. But anyways, that's A for Alpha. So next up is our I for India Sprue ×2. That's going to be our link and length track. That's what those look like. And they look good. We can see it's a different kind of track. It's wider and it's got different configuration. I don't see any knockouts on this side. The sprue gates are pretty small, which is nice. And I don't really see a parting line. So that looks good. But on this side, we do have knockout scars. If we get it in the light just right, we can see it right there where my finger is. There's quite a few of them, but they're very shallow, and we'll dry fit it. We'll see if we can't, you know, hide it with some mud. But they do look like articulated tracks. And there's the little single ones. And the knockouts, well, it looks bad with the shadow and the light, but it's not too bad. We'll dry fit and we'll see. We'll see how much cleanup we have. So there it is there, that's I for India. Then we get this sprue, 1 times G for Golf, and this is the sprue that differentiates the late version to the early version in the Academy line. The other sprues are the same for both kits, but this is the one that they change out for the early. I'm not going to get into that too much, but just by way of a little bit of trivia with Academy kits, but there it is. And just looking at the manlet, we can see it's got that cast texture, which is rather nice. It's actually very nice. And the bolt detail is nice on the back plate there. That's going to take a wash. And that looks good. And there's the rear plate again. And the, you know, looking at these hinges, that hinge detail, that isn't bad. That isn't bad at all. That's pretty close to Tamiya quality. Alright, what else we got there? There we got the mantlet, the pig's head, the swine's head, I'm not sure exactly. But again, it's got that cast texture, which is nice. And we got the shirts in, and we can definitely cut those apart if we want. And what's interesting about these is that they're chamfered. I don't know if I'll be able to show it. Well, actually, if we look at the back, we can see they're chamfered, so that kind of gives us a thinner edge. So they might be a little bit more in scale, so that's pretty cool. And these hatches are actually pretty impressive. What I was impressed about the hatches is they are a little thick to pose open. But we can see the detail on there is great. There's no knockouts. And when we flip them over, the detail is great too, and no knockouts. So kudos to Academy, very well done. That detail is great on the inside there. I want to make sure I get that in focus. There it is. And we've got that muffler shroud, if I could find it. There it is there, and that big shroud there, that's what differentiates the late version. The early version's got a thin muffler shroud. So anything else of interest on here? Just the plate. It looks nice. Yeah, a little bit of discoloration, but that is not a big deal. We talked about that in a different kit. And there's the rear start crank, and it looks like it's capped, so that's kind of cool. So there's that. And we get two of these, and they're actually two sprues. So on the left is going to be C for Charlie, and on the right is going to be E for Echo. That's our wheels and running gear. And we can see the details on the wheels is good. Sprue gates are a little beefy, but not bad. And the wheels on the Hetzer are actually bigger than the 38T, and those look and feel bigger. It's just some of the idler wheels, some of the newer ones and older versions, and they look good. And just some, well, it's not wanting for small parts. There's some grab handles. Those are pretty small. There's a little buckle for the jack. The molding on that's not great. Not crazy about that cable, but it kind of gets jammed in the back, so it'll be fine. And, the detail's nice. I mean, look at that return roll, the little bolts there. That looks good. And nothing too exciting, but nice detail there. I mean, we've got a little wing nut there. So that looks pretty good. And, I don't know, the little hoopy things. Got to be careful with those. So if you remember on the Tamiya kit, we had parting lines on the wheels, but if we look closely at the Academy wheels, there is no parting line. So that is really clever molding. They must have put the parting line right at the top of the wheel. That is very well done. So we have no cleanup on the edges of those wheels. That is really impressive. And finally, hard to believe we're already through the sprues, but at least the last one is the biggest one. So there it is there. That's going to be B for Bravo. We got one of those. So a quick look at the figures. This isn't the most flattering light, but they look pretty good. They're a little flashy. They're going to need some cleanup. But, not in the League of Alpine or anything. They almost look like older generation Tamiya figures. And he looks like a bit of a zombie in this light with the crazy eyes. But in real life, they look pretty good. They're going to need a little bit of cleanup. They got a little bit of a seam on them. It's a little bit of flash. But, here's the little guy's hand. Where is he pointing here? There he is. I mean, the finger's a little bit big. There it is. It's actually pretty big, yeah. It's going to take a little bit of work. So let's go around here really quick. What else is of interest? Some pretty small parts. There's the jack. Looks good. Detail's great, actually. And the periscopes there, well, they're solid, so that's too bad. It would have been nice to have clear. But on the back of those periscopes, we do have knockouts. So that's something I noticed there. And just going around there, let's see here. The wire cutters, that scale looks great. That's even more delicate than usually you see in the older Tamiya sculpting. Let's see here. There's the night light. No-tech night light. And the fenders, very Panzer 38T-esque. Like the Tamiya kit, a little thick on the edge. What else we got here? And while the Grouser bins, we can see that the holes are solid. So we're going to have to get our little pin vise out, do a little cleaning there. See, they're solid. So Tamiya got one up on them for that. There's the periscope. That would have been nice if that was a clear parts. And some nice small parts. So not too many small parts, just enough to give you the modeling experience. And the molding on that little cap there, that looks good. And, let's leave that for a moment. But there's the barrels. And they're pretty good. They got a little bit of a parting line, but they are slide molded on the edge, so that's great. And so is that periscope slide molded there. Very nice. But this is great. Here's the Machine Gewehr 34.
MG34 looks good, and this is impressive. It is also slide molded. I have not seen other kits that do slide molding on small parts like that. Oh, that looks red on the edge. It's actually just the lights. But that is impressive. That hole is probably not deep enough, but you know, that slide molding at least gives us a nice pilot hole. So that is really impressive. That I was impressed with for sure. And I don't really see too much else, just some nice small parts, and the detail's good. So, all right, well, there it is. That's going to be B for Bravo.
And that'll do it for this episode. Check back as we undertake the building phase of our Jagdpanzer 38T coming up real soon. Take a moment to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, dislike, or comment below the video, or visit the channel to access all our scale model episodes. As always, keep your blade sharp, stay well, and all the best.